Hello and namaste, everyone. My name is Pooja Kamath Sabnis. Today we have a very interesting person who we're going to be speaking with. He usually, I think, is far more coveted in the month of April. So he is Mr. Kartik Mittal, who is going to be speaking about a very important topic that most of us get and dive into, which is taxes. So, taxes is something that most people are really scared of doing by themselves. And a lot of people have a lot of questions, there are a lot of myths around them. Uh, we several times don't really understand the nitty gritties of it. And which is the reason why we thought we'll bring an expert and we'll address some really uh, basic, simple, yet very, very important topics, and he can throw a lot of light on those things. So, Kartik Mittal here is from an accounting firm called Brown Boys Accounting and comes with over 8 years of experience in this particular background. I would love for him to introduce himself, and then once that happens, we can dive into the whole bunch of questions that we have. So, welcome, Kartik. How are you doing?
Thank you, Pooja. I'm doing good. How have you been doing?
I have been doing good, but it's suddenly become very cold today. But generally, all is well.
That's amazing. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and the firm. So we used to operate under a different firm before. So by profession, I'm a PBA, which is a public business accountant, and I am also on the standards body for them.
Right.
We do work closely with some CPAs as well. But in terms of services, we offer corporate services as well as personal services. And I think today we are doing this session because the personal tax season is coming up. So people have a lot of questions. So I hope this session helps them to, make their way around on how to do their tax planning for this year.
Right. Yeah.
And
So I think let's just get into the simplest terms, which is, what is tax filing and who should be filing taxes? Because there's a lot of confusion around who should be doing it.
right. So that's a very common question. If anybody has zero income, should they file taxes or not?
Correct.
So what I recommend is pretty much every single individual should file their taxes no matter what. If
Right.
you are a Canadian resident, you should file taxes. Unless you are on a visitors here, either you're a student or a worker or permanent resident citizen, whether you have made any income or not, you should file your taxes.
Right. And why is that? Why is it so important? What happens if you don't, especially if you're zero income or if you're a student, if you're not earning anything? Why should be filing taxes?
So technically, we are obligated to file taxes. I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's say a lot of our benefits, for example, carbon tax, GST, HST credits, are based off of our income. So let's say if we don't file taxes, we would not get the benefits. And so our financial year runs with the calendar year, which is January 1st to December 31st. So whatever income we have earned, we are obligated to pay taxes on that. So that's why we file taxes. And normally the deadline is April 30th every single year to file our taxes.
Correct. So what happens if one doesn't?
So their benefits stop. Let's say you want to sponsor someone, they would require your income. If you have not filed your taxes, you would not be able to prove what income you have. Let's say you want to have a house, get a mortgage, they will need your income. If you have not filed your taxes, you would not be able to prove the income. So there is a lot of downside if you do not file your taxes.
Right. So I
And
think just coming back to a doubt that I have. So let's
Mhm.
assume we're talking about a student who is paying money out of his pocket to to study and
Right.
is not generating any. He doesn't even have a part-time job. So
Mhm.
what then? Why does he need to file taxes?
So let's say considering year 2020, right? Any student who was a full-time student throughout the year, he had zero income, but still he went to school.
Right.
So what happens is a school issues you normally a slip called T2200.
Right.
So you get tax credit for that. So that's why when we add that tax credit, it gets recorded in that particular year, which is carried forward to further years. So let's say he did 3 years or 4 years of school.
Mhm.
Once he lands a good job, right, he will
Mhm.
have all those credits carried forward so that in the future years he can get a good refund.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So, for students or people who do not have an income, the reason why you do it is as a proactive measure as
Yes.
to how it might benefit you in the future,
Yes.
and
Another reason is
helps you with a clean slate as well.
that's true. Another reason is, having zero income or low income. You get a lot of benefits from the city. Let's say you get cheaper bus passes. So to be eligible for that, you have to file your taxes, which shows you have no income, and that way you can take benefits.
Right. Oh, that's an excellent point. I'm sure all the students who are listening to this, if you didn't know, please make a note of that, that there are benefits attached to it, and read the benefits, go through it. I'm sure it's going to help you save money.
Right.
So typically, as we did in the introduction, that April is when most people sort of rush, and there's chaos and there's a deadline, and that's when everyone starts filing their taxes. So
Right.
if that's when it's supposed to be completed, why exactly are we having this session today?
Um, the reason we are having this session today is because I think everybody should strategize, how they want to file their taxes. Normally, I see, for whoever it is, the first time filing their taxes, or even after a couple of years, scenarios change, so they don't know what to, what credits are and what all things you can claim. Let's say if anybody has bought a house, they need to bring those papers in. You have your medical expenses, you have your childcare receipts. Sometimes what happens is you have multiple jobs and then you would have multiple T4s, but all the T4s, they don't get uploaded to CRA right away, or there are some delays by employers. So if you have paper copies of those slips, you can keep collecting them, and that's how you basically plan your tax filing.
Right. So I think a lot of people who are watching this may have experienced in the past where several times we keep things at the last minute,
Right.
and that sort of creates a lot of issues for us. It creates chaos, it creates confusion, it creates stress. So, like Karthik mentioned, that strategizing and planning is important, especially if things haven't been straightforward, which means if you've had multiple jobs, or if you've switched jobs, or if at all you've bought a new house, like he said. So there's a lot of different kinds of paperwork that needs to go. It may not immediately get uploaded. So if you plan it well, it's so much more convenient, smooth, and seamless, the process. Is that right?
That's correct. And another thing is, it's not that far, then we can file taxes. It starts February 20th this year.
Mhm.
So about, I would say, about 10 days. So you guys should, start gathering your paperwork, and early filers do get early refunds. So, that's a good thing.
Yes, and that's always good, right? To
Yes,
get the refund as soon as you can,
that's true.
gains back some money.
Yes.
So now that you said, that strategizing, preparing, planning, all of this is important. Can you just elaborate a little more on how exactly should one prepare and strategize?
So I would just say, just go over the whole year. Again, coming back to the same point. If you have multiple jobs, gather all the T4s. Ask your employers, or just take it out from CRA. Even if you don't have all the T4s, sometimes what we do is we directly get it from CRA itself, by getting the authorization.
Right.
Let's say you have medical expenses or any other kind of credits, school credits. You have to have all those slips so that we can claim that. Let's say you did RRSPs, you can claim that as well. Another thing I would like to mention is, we do get a lot of clients, particularly from 21st of Feb to 28th of Feb, which is that 1 week. A lot of people do RRSPs. I'll explain you a small scenario. Let's say if an individual has $100,000 worth of income and they end up owing taxes, but they want to save taxes. So what they can do is put money into RRSPs, which will help you to get small amount of refund. And deadline for contributing in RRSPs is Feb 28th. So up until, if you do contributions in RRSPs, that still gets counted in physical year 2022. So
Right.
that's a good thing.
Right. So the sooner you start, the better you'll know about the things that are to be done, and
Yes.
you can sort of manage your time, plan it in
Mhm.
a way that you can get maximum benefits, and um, thereby refunds out of.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So Anything else that you think preparation wise one should keep in mind? So I think when I speak with a lot of people, most people are not aware about things
Hmm.
that there's for instance, they've bought a new house or childcare or
Right.
medical. So these two or three are probably the most common ones, and of course the T4s that you get from your employers.
Right.
But say for instance during COVID, during the pandemic, when people were
Hmm.
working from home,
Right.
they could file there was like this work from home benefits that
Credit.
you could file.
Yes.
So like that, what if there are certain things that people are not aware of? Can you tell us a little more about that? How do they?
So other things could be, let's say, if you're still working from home, there is a form called T2200. So that form particularly explains if you're working from home, you can still claim your home office expenses. The only condition being if your employer is ready to sign that form. Another thing is, let's say, if you have dependents, you need to gather all the slips for the dependents as well. If there is a new family member added, bring their documentation. um, if you're self-employed, particularly for self-employed people, the deadline goes up until June 15th. But normally what happens is, let's say if you have two set of incomes, one is your T4 income and the other is self-employed income, so still you need to file by April 30th itself. And then you get so let's say you file by first week of March itself, you still have plenty of time to pay if you end up owing taxes.
Correct. Right.
So
Where might one, CRA is the best platform, but
yes.
how do you make it easier on yourself to educate yourself on, because there's so much that's going on.
I would say you can always give us guys a call, to ask us. We, don't charge for consultation. You can always have, few minutes conversation. Like, this is your scenario, and what documents do I need to bring? But
Right.
normally, what I have seen is there are basically five things that apply to any individual, which is if they have worked, get your work slips. If they are a student, get your student slips. If you are out of country, you still need to file your taxes. Apart from that, if you have any dependents, we need information for them, and any other slips that you have, any other tax credit. Mostly, let's say if you had donations, you can claim that as well.
Correct. Right. All right. So I think this is very important for people to know that there is. It's a little overwhelming when you start as an individual to fill in those little boxes, and it can get a little scary and stressful, especially if you're doing it towards the end. So one of
Right.
the best things that Karthik said is give them a call. Consultation is free of cost. At least it gives you an overview of the things that you need to do, and
Mhm.
you'll be well within the timeline, you'll be guided well, you'll be given the right kind of inputs as you want, and it's just going to make it easier on yourself and the process far more seamless for you. That I think is very beneficial for most people who've tried to sort of figure it by themselves and
Right.
become you know like chaotic in their own heads about it.
Right. And if you cannot make the call, right, you can always go on our website. There is a small checklist that says, what to expect and what to bring, and
Right.
a few FAQs that would help you a little bit.
Right. Right. So I think that sort of helps a lot. So moving forward, then we'd like to discuss about common myths around tax filing. So I'm sure through your experience, you must have interacted with a lot of people who think a certain way, but those are just they're not true. So can you
Right.
sort of bring those things to the forefront?
Yes, I think the first common myth is, I get this all the time, is me and my friend have same income, but why did he get a refund and I am paying?
Correct.
So how I treat say this is, tax files are like DNA. Every individual tax file is very different. Even if 90% of the scenarios are same, the 10% can change your whole scenario.
Correct.
So even if you're salaried, even if you pay taxes to your employer, you can still end up owing taxes. And some people, even if they don't have income or very less income, they would get a huge amount of refund. So
Right.
every individual tax file is very different.
Right. And like you said, a person may have just bought a house. A person may have just had, through the year put their child through childcare services. There
Mhm.
could have been some medical expenses. So there are a lot of different variables, even if the income is the same, which can result in a different kind of a refund. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. We also, have met people who've had this question that what if they have been away for the whole year?
Hmm.
They are still Canadian citizens, but they've not been in the country for about, a year or so, or more than that. Then
Right.
do they still need to pay taxes?
No, they do not need to pay taxes unless they have made any income, passive income here.
Right.
So, giving an example, let's say uh, a soon retired, let's say somebody took a pre-retirement, let's say at 45, he is a good investor. He has like $2-3 million invested, and he gets passive income, let's say dividend income or interest income. He would still be filing taxes, and he would still be paying taxes on that. It says that his scenario would be he would file a non-resident tax. So whenever you are away from the country over 183 days, you become a non-resident for that particular financial year, but still the same scenario applies to you.
Okay. All right. So I think those were the common questions that we had. I'd like you to sort of, if we've missed out on anything else, any other questions that you usually come across, anything that you can think of.
I would say this pretty much, kind of winds up. But of course, just keep in mind, every single individual should file their taxes, no matter what, because there are a lot of benefits that our government gives us. So if you have not filed your taxes, those benefits will not be provided.
Correct.
Um, a lot of here people are immigrants, so of course you need to sponsor your family. Sponsor your siblings, anybody. You would need your taxes to be filed.
Correct.
It is always recommended to file your taxes on time. If you, let's say, fail to file your taxes up until April 30th, it's still not end of the world. You can still file your taxes. There would just be a little bit of penalty by CRA, but you'll
Right.
be in the same spot. Once you pay the penalties and the amount of taxes you owe, you'll be in good standing with CRA.
Right. Right. So I think what we're taking away from this particular session is that no matter what your income is, even if
Right.
it's a zero income person, it's a student, it's a person who's, that's lost their jobs, person who has transitioned, you've
Yes.
bought a home, you've been living on rent, whatever your situation is,
Hmm.
filing taxes is very, very important. And this is not really for the government only. This is largely for you because
Yes.
you can avail several benefits, not just in
Yes.
terms of refund, but also in terms of your record, in terms of if you have to sponsor anyone. Just the way your credibility shows, it shifts drastically when you pay taxes because it also reflects about the kind of citizen, permanent or otherwise, that you are.
That's
Uh,
correct.
and second of all, if you have questions, like what, like they say, when in doubt, always ask. And the reason why we're doing these sessions, these interviews, is so that you have an opportunity, you have a platform to reach out. Currently, we're speaking with Brown Boys Accounting, so reach out to them in the message below. You'll be able to, the description box below, you'll be able to see their details, their, how to reach, how to get across to them. And like Kartik said, that initial consultation charges are, there's no charges at all. So that's a good platform avenue for you to clarify your questions and just make it easier for yourself.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Kartik?
I think this would be pretty much it. But of course, saying the same thing that every individual would have different questions.
Right.
So you can always ask whatever your doubts are, and then we'll be always happy to help.
Sure. Great. So on that note, then, on behalf of IC, thank you so much, Kartik, for your time, for answering all these questions. I know these must be very, very simple for you, but for lay people, it actually comes down to sitting, doing things, and figuring things out, going to the CRA website. So thank you for clarifying a lot of our doubts.
Yes.
And
Before we go, another quick thing I wanted to mention was I would highly recommend every single person to have an online CRA account,
right.
right? Because it's everybody is digital now, and CRA having an online account would make your life a lot easier. You can have access to your notice of assessments, pretty much all the tax documents right away at just from your cell phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So that's the
And
third
thank you so
message.
much, Pooja, for
Have
having me.
a CRA account. Very, very important. Things are going digital. Also, a great way to access all your previous records, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just makes it very, very structured for you as you do it as you file your taxes on a year-on-year basis.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Karthik, for your time.
Thank
I'm
you so
sure a
much,
lot of
Pooja.
people will be reaching out to your firm, and it's just going to be helpful for many, many people, especially now that you said that it's just 10 days down the road when they start opening.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Pooja. You as well. Have a wonderful day.
All right, bye then. And on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for watching. Hope this video has been useful to you. And please stay tuned for more such informational